Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Zach with Money Pit RC. So every single day I get a ton of DMs or questions of what product do you recommend for this, or what remote do you use. So in this video I'm going to attempt to tell you some of my favorite products. So I'm going to try to basically, in my mind or in your vision, I'm going to build an SCX24 with all of my favorite parts to date. So like I'll show you a favorite shock, or I'll show you my favorite tire, or what receiver I use. So that's what I'm going to do in this video. So I might not just give you one, I might give you the top 3 ones that I would use on my build, or my favorite product that I would use. So I feel like this video, I can just sum it up and I can just answer everybody's questions in one video. Alright, we're going to start off strong. We're going to start out with my remote. This is the remote that I use on every single car that I have. I have this for my bashers, I have this for my speedrun car, I have it for all my micro crawlers. This is the remote I use for every single one. So it is a Dumbo RC. I can't tell you the model because I have no idea. I've had this for the last 3 years. I actually have a couple of them, but this is the one that I use. I did 3D print a thumb steer, a free file, which this thing comes in handy so much. It is 6 channels. 6 channels, super easy. Steering trim, throttle trim, dual rates, reverse, everything. It's a great remote. It's probably one of the best budget remotes you can get. I think right now these are like 30 bucks, 20 bucks if you find it on eBay. And it's 6 channel. I mean, you don't need 6 channels for a micro crawler, but for my bashers or even my SCX10 that has the diff locks and all that, this is one to use because 6 channels. Budget friendly, it's got good range if you're using it for a basher, and it's dirt cheap. So the receivers you can get in a couple different options. Here is the one that they call this the micro receiver because it doesn't have a hard case. It's kind of small. It's lengthy, but it's tiny. It's tiny enough you can shove it in an SCX24 and it still has room. But for some reason these are very hard to get in the States. So I order like 10 of them at a time from China. It takes a little bit, but it's better to buy them in bulk because I'm always going to need them. Because I don't like switching them from car to car. I like to keep them in a car and that's it. And once you program to a car, you don't have to reprogram it. You can literally turn this on, turn the remote on, it's binded. You turn this off, go to a different car, turn it on, it's automatically connected to the remote. It's great. So this is the first style that they come in, and then here is one that's in a hard case. So this is the one that I usually use for my bashers, just because it is hard cased and it's just a little bit more stout. So like I said, it's still not that big, so you can fit it in a micro crawler and it won't cause an issue, but I usually take the case off and that's usually how I rock it. So this one right here, this is the one I took out of the case. It is a smaller footprint, so I like taking them out of the case. I should heat shrink them just for a precautionary measure, but I haven't had an issue taking them out of the case and just kind of rocking them like that. So there's a couple different options for your receiver, and if you order them off eBay as in bulk, you can get them for like 10 bucks each. They are not expensive at all. So if you would give me a question of if you had to pick one tire to run anytime, anywhere, which tire would you choose? I would have to say a Proline Trencher. So aesthetically, it's a good looking tire, and for performance wise, it's great. Compound's great, super soft, and you can shove an insert in those and they're unstoppable. So looks, performance, that's pretty much a Proline Trencher. No ifs, ands, or buts. And they were just on sale for like $4, so I stocked up. I got a whole bunch. As of right now, inserts, I would say the yellow Endura silicone inserts. Dirt cheap and good. And you can tune them. So you can cut the ribs off on the inside and make them a little bit softer if they're not soft enough, but they still got good sidewall rigidity. So yeah, I would say the yellow Endura silicone inserts. So you might be catching on that a lot of my stuff is budget friendly. I am a cheap butt when it comes to buying stuff. It hurts me in certain ways, but it also helps me in certain ways because I'd rather put the money into the more important stuff. I feel like as you get in this hobby, you'll realize that there's a lot of stuff that is just renamed or rebranded and they sell it for twice as much. So just kind of do your research a little bit. You'll understand that there's some certain things that you can cheap out on, but then other things you gotta just buy, you know, buy once, cry once, basically. Axles. I can't even say it. Every single one of my SCX24s has stock axles. Either it's the aluminum housing or straight up plastic. They are stock housings. I might make a lot of people upset, but a lot of these bigger name axles are more aesthetics versus performance. Yes, they look great, but if you buy a certain axle with a certain name, you are kind of stuck with that, because if something breaks, you have to buy it straight from them. Let's say you break an axle shaft, you have to buy their axle shaft to get it fixed. So that's my only dilemma with buying name brand like axles or something along those lines, is if something breaks, you have to go to them and buy that replacement part. If you have a stock axle and you break an axle shaft, you can go anywhere and just buy a replacement part. Everybody makes SCX24 axle shafts, like for a stock axle. If you want to do brass knuckles, there's a whole bunch of options for that. But if you do a certain axle, you have to buy their brass knuckle. Like I said, I'll probably make a whole bunch of people upset, but that's just my personal preference. You do what you want to do. Trust me, they look great, but I just can't see myself spending hundreds of dollars on just axles. I'd rather put that money somewhere else. So here's a prime example. Stock axle housings. All you have to do is trim them, give it a little Dremel work, brass knuckles, brass diff covers. That's pretty much it. Replace the axle shafts with universal ones, and this is a proper setup axle. Trust me, if I could afford to put Super 8s or Mias racing axles on every single build, I would. Don't get me wrong, they're good axles. I just can't afford that, and I think stock axles do just fine. So let's talk about servos. Everybody loves an Emax servo. I don't care if you just started the hobby or if you've been in the hobby for a while. You're gonna toss an Emax in there and it's gonna last you a little bit. No, they're not gonna last forever, especially once you put brass on it, but Emax servos are probably the most budget servo you can get, and it still performs alright. I had a couple of those Eco Powers. They do handle higher voltages. I wipe those out faster than Emaxes for some weird reason, even on the lower voltage. So budget build, Emax servo all day long. You can never go wrong with a Reefs 99 or a Reefs 179. Yes, they're a little bit more pricey, but this is where I say you put your money where you need it. I think you can get a Reefs 99 for like 50, 60 bucks. You're gonna love it. Smooth, quiet, all around a great performing servo. I'm waiting for what about the Torque servos? They are great servos too. Torque servos are fantastic. They have a great build quality. The prices are a little bit cheaper than the Reefs 99. They do have different styles for different applications. Some of the Torque servos have a built-in mount for the SCX24s. The only reason I didn't suggest those servos is because you can only run that servo on stock axles. But then you're probably thinking, didn't you just say stock axles were superior? If I wanted to toss a servo in, let's just say any car that I want, Reefs 99, because you can put that in any car you want. If you get a Torque servo with a built-in mount, you can only put on stock axles. So it's kind of confusing. Reefs 99 micro all day long. No ifs, ands, or buts. Or the 179. When someone asks me what servo to get, I usually just recommend a Reefs. Wheels. This is another thing that people get caught up in the money side of it. So this is another thing that's probably going to get me in trouble. I buy a lot of my wheels off of eBay straight from China. You want to know why? Because one, they're cheap, and two, some of them are good looking. Like these right here. These are all brass, so they are heavy, and they look good. And they're from China. I think they were like 15 bucks maybe. These wheels from China. Under 20 bucks. These smoothie wheels, China. Don't get me wrong, I do love myself some Little Guy Racing Parts wheels. They are super easy to put together and they just look fantastic. Especially these new 1552 wheels. They look great. So wheels, I can't really give a definite answer. I like them all. It doesn't really matter who they're from, what make they are. A wheel's a wheel to me. It just is the design factor. Depends what build you're putting on. It's a whole bunch of different factors. You know, explore your options a little bit there. You'll be surprised how many wheels are out there nobody really knows about because either they're hidden on eBay or somebody has them on some other site or whatever, and they're cheap and they're good. So shocks, you probably already know because I did a full video on them, but the Endura 40mm big bore oil filled shocks. I have them on most of my rigs and they are great. They're cheap, they're oil filled, they dampen well, they're great looking shock too, and they just perform really well. They're super smooth. That's all I gotta say. Endura 40mm big bore shocks. They're not too long, but they're not too short. They give a perfect amount of flex, and you just can't go wrong with those shocks, honestly. So best shocks. I'll put them on a high performing rig, or I'll put them on just like a scalar look, or I'll put them on a scalar build. They just look good in general, and they just perform really well. All right, let's start talking about something serious. Motors, ESCs. If you want a kit that is bolt in, ready to go, straight off the bat, no hassle, no fuss, you're gonna get the FuriTech Micro Komodo with the Lizard Pro ESC. It comes with the motor mount, comes with everything you need to get it installed. Simple, no ifs, ands, or buts. I highly recommend Micro Komodo. It's got the smooth operation, it has FOC technology, it is just fantastic. For people that just get into the hobby, you want to brush this kit, just get with the FuriTech Micro Komodo kit. You will be happy, I promise you that. You have the Micro Komodo sitting right on top, there's the motor mount that comes with, and here's the ESC. That's all you need. It will completely change the way your rig drives, 120%. It's an amazing little kit, bolts in there just fine, no issues. You want to go a step further? This is my all-time favorite kit right here. It is the Mini Komodo, Stellar Transmission, and a Python ESC. It's a little bit more pricey, but you get what you pay for. These FuriTech kits are no joke, reliability and everything in one. So right here, highly recommend this. No hassle, no fuss. This is the kit to get. Call me a FuriTech fanboy, but just the simplicity of the kits and how they install and the reliability, you just really can't beat it, honestly. So for drive shafts, I usually just use the stock SCX24 drive shafts. I will stock up, I'll buy the long kit, the short kit. I'll just have a whole stockpile of drive shafts. But I've been a big fan of these Endura steel ones lately. They are great quality. They look really good too. I've only broken a couple stock drive shafts, but I mean, they're just drive shafts. If you get in a bind, of course they're gonna break. I've even broken the Endura steel one, but you know, if you get anything in a bind and you just keep hammering it, it's gonna break. Like I said, they're dirt cheap. You can get you can get a whole pack of them and just keep them in your toolbox or whatever and take them on the trail with you just in case, but it really hasn't been an issue. So stock ones are fine. Metal ones are also fine. It's all your preference. All right, I'm pretty sure I got the whole car covered. Like I said, these are just a couple of my favorite parts. I get a lot of questions asked, so I just want to do a video on a full answer, I guess. So hopefully some of this video you like, hopefully you don't like, I don't know. So make sure you leave a comment down below because I want to see what kind of parts you guys use. Are you more of an aesthetic builder, or are you more performance, or straight up just budget build? I build them all, so I understand everything. So make sure you guys leave a like, comment, subscribe if you haven't already. You know, I enjoy reading through all your feedback. Catch you guys in the next video.